What really happens when the world's most beloved daytime host swaps her trademark kindness for cold control? Picture this: millions of fans flock to their screens every afternoon, ready to laugh, to dance, to feel uplifted, only to discover that behind the bright lights and the endless giveaways a darker story was unfolding. For nearly 2 decades, Ellen DeGeneres reigned supreme as television's beacon ambassador. She hugged celebrities, gifted dream prizes, and won daytime Emmys by the dozen. But beginning in the summer of 2020, that carefully crafted image began to crack. Reports surfaced of a workplace laced with fear, harassment, even outright terror. Former employees described a culture where speaking up invited punishment, where time off for a funeral could cost you your job, and where touching boundaries vanished the moment the cameras cut. How did someone who built an empire on empathy end up presiding over an environment ruled by dread? The answer lies in a story of paradox and power, of a public persona that bore little resemblance to the private woman pulling the strings. It's a saga that stretches from Ellen's stifling childhood in rural Louisiana, through her rise as a comedic underdog, and into the glittering heights of fame, before it all came crashing down under the weight of scandal. Over the next 6 chapters, we'll peel back the layers, the roots of her weekend mantra, the pivotal moments that shaped her ironclad control, and the shocking revelations that shattered her legacy. We begin where many stories end in 2020. A BuzzFeed exposé dropped like a bomb. 36 current and former staffers stepped forward, detailing a reign of mismanagement spearheaded not by Ellen herself, but by men she empowered, and, critics say, protected. Executive producers who groped and intimidated, human resources teams that shrugged off complaints, and a host whose trademark warmth disappeared the moment the red light flashed. Suddenly, the gracious host audiences adored was portrayed as a queen who could freeze you with a single glance, what one cameraman called the Ellen gaze. Yet rewind the tape 20 years, and the path looks entirely different. Ellen's story began in Metairie, Louisiana, born into a household bound by Christian Science doctrine, feelings, unnecessary, medicine, unthinkable, family. Speak only when spoken to. Those were the rules. Under that austere roof, young Ellen learned to mask her pain, to swallow her questions, and to perform obedience like a practiced art. When her parents split, she suddenly found herself as caretaker, nurse, and emotional rock for her mother, while still a teenager. It was a crash course in responsibility, resilience, and the slippery art of hiding your true self. That hidden self would later fuel her greatest comedic material. Ellen turned her darkest moments into jokes, pounding them into routines that felt disarmingly honest amid the smoke and mirrors of show business. A devastating car wreck, a tragic loss of love, the baffling cruelties of faith, all became fodder for her signature phone call to God bit, a routine that led her onto Johnny Carson's couch and launched her into the national spotlight. Her success seemed unstoppable. Sitcom flops gave way to huge ratings spikes. She became the first woman to earn Johnny's coveted toast on that iconic couch, and she finally got her own primetime platform, only to transform it yet again into the go-to daytime juggernaut viewers couldn't turn away from. But power, as they say, has its own gravity, and the closer you get to the top, the more everything you touch bends to your will. Ellen's Be-Kind brand morphed into a rigid demand for loyalty. The bright studio lights masked what happened when they dimmed. Staffers whispered about impossible schedules, about sudden firings over trivial missteps, and about a culture where anyone who dared question the machine risked being crushed by it. Now, imagine you're on the inside. You arrive at a taping full of hope. Maybe it's your first big gig or a shot at your dream career. Hours later you might leave bruised, unseen, silenced. And every day, the bright Eden in front of the camera promised laughter and generosity. The hidden jungle behind the scenes delivered anxiety and reprisal. How long could that divide last before it finally exploded? That explosion came not just in shaken headline, but in plunging ratings and millions of viewers who realized that Ellen's kindness was reserved for the audience, and rarely extended to the people who made the show possible. The fallout was swift. Contracts canceled, brand deals dropped, a once unstoppable titan reduced to an apologetic figure scrambling to reclaim trust. Her empire, built on 2 simple words, crumbled under the weight of contradiction. In this deep dive, we'll trace every twist, the formative scars that gave Ellen her unique voice, the meteoric rise that made her household royalty, the moments of hubris that concealed her show's rot, and finally, the reckoning that laid bare a kingdom built on the show that viewers no longer wanted to watch. Welcome to the untold story of how kindness became a weapon, and a queen fell from her throne. Long before fame and bright stage lights, Ellen was just a little girl in Metairie, Louisiana. Her home was not a place of laughter or carefree childhood games. It was a house ruled by Christian Science dogma so rigid that feeling pain or seeking medical help was forbidden. Fever meant spiritual failure. Cuts and bruises demanded prayer rather than bandages. If a headache struck, the only remedy was silent devotion. Even the word sick felt like a sin. What if that child, bright-eyed and curious, never learned how to express fear or grief, because her religion said she had no right to? Imagine being raised in a world where emotions were currency you couldn't spend. Young Ellen learned early to box up her tears and lock them away. When her parents divorced, it was more than a family split, it was seismic upheaval for a child who had been taught to believe family was forever. At 15, she became caretaker, nurse, and silent confidant to her mother, Betty. Instead of attending proms and studying for exams, Ellen navigated hospital corridors and comforted her grief-stricken mom after a mastectomy. The faith that once promised answers offered none when tragedy struck, and a young Ellen realized that prayer could break under the weight of reality. Those early lessons in performance and suppression became her hidden blueprint for comedy. When Ellen faced the darkest chapters, abuse by her stepfather, the shattering loss of her first love, she filed every sorrow away only to dig it up later on a stage, reshape it, and gift it back to audiences as laughter. She discovered that vulnerability could be her superpower. A joke about a car crash or a sad breakup became a bridge between her private pain and the collective empathy of strangers. In a world that demanded she stay silent, comedy gave her permission to finally speak. At 22, she stepped onto that neon-lit stage in New Orleans with nothing but raw material and refusal to be invisible. The city's comedy circuit was ruthless. Nights went by as she bombed on empty rooms or walked out of clubs unpaid, her jokes echoing off bare walls. Yet every humiliation, every cold audience and stinging silence tempered her resolve. She learned timing wasn't just about punchlines, it was about earning trust, peeling back defenses and promising an honest ride. When she finally won the national Funniest Person in America contest, it was not luck but an arsenal forged in fire. Her television break came like a quiet storm. A single night with Johnny Carson, delivering her signature phone call to God routine, transformed her from hopeful upstart to unstoppable star. Carson, the gatekeeper of comedic royalty, broke decades of protocol to invite her to sit on his couch. In that moment, womanhood and whimsy collided. Viewers tuned in not just for her wit but for her authenticity, a rare quality on late-night screens dominated by male voices. Suddenly, the Shea girl who bottled her tears had become a national emblem of charm, vulnerability, and most important, kindness. Then came Hollywood's siren song sitcom cameo supporting roles, a flurry of auditions. She stumbled. 2 primetime series canceled before they even found their footing. But every cancellation refined her instincts. Producers remembered her energy, critics praised her warmth, networks recognized that her star burned brighter than any flop could extinguish. When Fox entrusted her with a show built around her persona, she seized it. When ABC rechristened These Friends of Mine as Ellen, she embraced it. Finally, she had the reins. Yet having power also meant learning how to wield it. As her daytime talk show soared to record ratings and daytime Emmy trophies piled up, Ellen's influence extended far beyond studio audiences. She introduced segment ideas that shaped culture, impromptu dance parties, surprise home makeovers, audience games that felt alive and unpredictable. Her ethos of be kind was stamped on every giveaway and every headline-making moment. But behind the scenes, her staff discovered that kindness had boundaries. The laughter that filled the set masked an undercurrent of stress. Rehearsal rooms became pressure cookers. Producers were empowered to make it happen by any means necessary, and the mandate to deliver viral moments created a climate where cutting corners and trampling on courtesy became routine. By 2020, the stage had shifted. BuzzFeed's explosive report wasn't born of a single whistleblower, it was the apex of years of hushed complaints, ignored emails, and concealed pleas for justice. Underneath the confetti and foam fingers lay a calculus of fear of speaking up, fear of losing a dream job, fear that kindness might not protect you when the cameras fade. The same audience that once felt seen and valued felt betrayed. The question that hung heavy in the air was devastating. Had she ever truly believed her own slogan, or was Be Kind another show? At the height of her reign, Ellen DeGeneres was more than a talk show host. She was a cultural phenomenon. Audiences tuned in not just for the giveaways or celebrity interviews, but for the sense that anything could happen. A spontaneous dance party in the audience, an unannounced guest dropping in, or a child's shy giggle could go viral overnight. Vendors couldn't keep up with Ellen-inspired trending hashtags, merchandise flew off shelves, sponsors clamored for on-air mentions, studios queued up to host her show, corporations threw six-figure deals at her brand. Her every move echoed across social media, amplified by millions of shares and retweets. Advertisers saw their dollars transform into brand-loyal viewers. Her empire extended beyond the stage into living rooms, laptops, and phones worldwide. To millions, Ellen was kindness personified, until the blink of an eye exposed a darker side. Nothing illustrated her power quite like that Oscar selfie. It was 2014 and Ellen had invited A-list stars Brad Pitt, Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, Angelina Jolie to huddle around for what she called the ultimate selfie. 15 seconds later, Twitter crashed under 3.3 million retweets. It shattered records, sending ripples through Hollywood and Silicon Valley alike. Brands paid homage with meme campaigns. Ellen emerged as a force not only in television but in digital marketing, redefining how live television could connect globally. Her show started trending before it even aired. Behind the scenes, producers watched metrics spike in real time, giddy at the thought of replicating that lightning in a bottle moment. It was a turning point from talk show royalty to social media architect. Voice acting for Disney's Finding Nemo and its sequel Finding Dory further elevated her star power. The role of Dory, that forgetful yet endearing fish, drew box office numbers just shy of $1 billion worldwide. Ellen lent the character her trademark warmth and spontaneity, creating a persona fans adored as much as they did her talk show self. Critics praised her contribution to family entertainment. She appeared at premieres, read fan mail, and posted behind-the-scenes clips, cultivating a bond with younger audiences. Her laughter echoed in movie theaters as waves of children repeated Dory's signature line, "Just keep swimming." Merchandise sprouted from plush toys to lunchboxes. Ellen's reach spanned generations, cementing her influence beyond daytime television. Behind the bright veneer of laughter and goodwill, Ellen nurtured an entrepreneur's spirit. In 2015, she launched Ed by Ellen, a lifestyle brand offering everything from kale-patterned coasters to 105 blazers. Retailers like Nordstrom and Bed Bath & Beyond stocked her products, while social media influencers unboxed her latest collections for their millions of followers. Ellen Digital Ventures and EllenTube gave her proprietary platforms to showcase exclusive content, building a media network paralleling her TV empire. A decor book, HGTV design show, and philanthropic initiatives rounded out her portfolio. With each new venture, she reinforced her "Be Kind" message, selling not just products but a lifestyle built on generosity, so her fans believed. Philanthropy became another pillar of her brand identity. In 2006, she mobilized volunteers and celebrities to raise nearly $10 million for Hurricane Katrina relief. She returned to New Orleans, bullhorn in hand, rallying communities to rebuild. Warner Brothers contributed $500,000, but it was Ellen's energy that drove grassroots efforts. Schools, restaurants, and community centers bore her name. She appeared at benefit concerts, launched scholarship programs, and spotlighted underrepresented artists. Her daily day of giving donated thousands of dollars of gifts to audience members, creating tearful reveals that drove up viewership. Jenna Bush and Jill Biden joined her on-stage initiatives, lending political clout to her charitable endeavors. Ellen's reach extended beyond laughter to real-world impact. Yet behind every miraculous giveaway and tearful reunion was a relentless engine of production. Tapings ran like clockwork, morning rehearsals, afternoon filming, evening edits. Hosts, producers, writers, and crew labored behind the scenes, often under intense time pressure. Requests for additional props, last-minute set changes, and the pursuit of viral content stretched schedules thin. A single flub could derail a week's worth of planning. Staffers were trained to expect the unexpected and deliver perfect moments on demand. It was a well-oiled machine, until it was fueled by fear instead of excitement. Under Ellen's umbrella of kindness, producers gained extraordinary autonomy. They could summon guests, approve costumes, and even rewrite scripts at a moment's notice. That power, combined with Ellen's insistence on perfection, led to micromanagement. Tasks that once took days shrank to hours under looming deadlines. Questions about feasibility were met with curt refusals. "Be kind," the slogan read, but kindness was reserved for viewers, not the workers, ensuring the show ran smoothly. High staff turnover became an open secret. Stage managers and coordinators came and went faster than production meetings could be scheduled. The real problem arose when certain executive producers used their delegated authority to exploit staff. BuzzFeed's 2020 report revealed that some men in leadership positions groped employees, forced unwelcome advances, and threatened blacklisting for anyone who complained. They knew Ellen demanded loyalty, and they weaponized it. Women and men alike described a buddy system forming to avoid being alone near these individuals. HR was aware, sometimes even notified directly, but complaints vanished into a bureaucratic void. Those who tried to escalate were told their ambitions were thankless, or that they needed to toughen up to survive in show business. Toxic rumors swirled for years. Whispers of a cold stare, what one cameraman called the Ellen gaze, sent shivers through the crew. A glance from Ellen could freeze a person mid-thought, as if she were deciding their fate. Stories emerged of unrealistically tight schedules punishing anyone who dared take time off, even for a family death. One staffer lost her job days after her mother passed. Another was demoted for refusing to reschedule her child's bone marrow transplant. Beneath the laughter, fear undercut morale. The glorious facade that had enthralled millions concealed an environment rigged against compassion. As the cumulative weight of hidden stories pressed against the bright walls of Stage 11, a fragile tension built. Former employees, once fearful of reprisals, began to find courage in collective silence. Their exit interviews grew franker. Blurred boundaries crackled with resentment. It was as if every confetti cannon and dance break carried the electric charge of suppressed outrage. Then in July 2020, the walls buckled. In July 2020, the world that had cheered for Ellen DeGeneres for decades jolted awake to a very different reality. Her empire of kindness was built on shaky ground. A BuzzFeed investigation dropped like a bomb, pulling back the curtain on a culture of fear that thrived behind the painted smiles. Reporters recounted conversations with 36 current and former employees who described a reign of mismanagement, abuse, and outright terror. Producers who groped and threatened, human resources that shrugged off complaints, and a host who, rumor had it, wielded her icy, Ellen gaze. to freeze staff into silent obedience. Overnight, the bright brand name felt like a cruel promise, and fans took to social media with Fembekinto employees demanding accountability. Sponsors reconsidered their deals, studios paused future projects, and the audience's trust disintegrated in real time. Within days, Ellen addressed the storm. In a pre-recorded video shared on her social platforms, she spoke in measured tones, apologizing for any pain caused and vowing to do better. "If I've ever let someone down," she said, "I'm sorry. I'm committed to making the workplace a place of joy for everyone." But the words felt hollow to many who recognized the corporate script behind the sincerity. No mention of specific names, no detailed plan for structural reforms, just broad strokes of regret. The clip sparked another wave of criticism. Viewers dissected her phrasing on talk shows and podcasts, labeling it deflective. Meanwhile, staff meetings convened off camera, but employees described them as tense, with managers urging silence and loyalty. The chasm between sentiment and substance widened, and curiosity morphed into cynicism. As summer turned to fall, the fallout migrated from headlines to Nielsen reports. Season 18 premiered with a spike in curiosity, but that was the last hurrah. Cumulative viewership plummeted from an average of 2.6 million daily viewers to just 1.5 million within 6 months, a staggering 43% decline. Among women under 54, the core demographic, the drop was even more pronounced, nearly a 38% loss. Advertisers felt the squeeze too. Ad revenue for the show fell from $131 million to $105 million, a $26 million shortfall that forced network executives to renegotiate deals and slash budgets. In boardrooms, formerly eager sponsors weighed the risk of association. A major skincare line quietly withdrew its slots. A fast food chain replaced Ellen commercials with prime-time boxing matches. The brand that once symbolized warmth now carried a taint of controversy. By late 2020, morale on set hit a historic low. Staff lounges once buzzing with ideas fell silent, and production meeting rooms echoed with whispered concerns. Some crew members said the air felt heavier, as though the auditorium chairs themselves carried the weight of shattered illusions. Behind closed doors, executives debated canceling the show outright, but syndication contracts and advertising commitments offered a lifeline. Instead, producers opted for damage control, a commemorative segment honoring long-tenured staff, new HR protocols claiming to safeguard employee rights, and a monthly town hall led by Ellen herself. Yet attendance dwindled when she appeared to read scripted bullet points. The applause felt perfunctory. It was a stage-managed apology tour, carefully staged but devoid of genuine connection, and it did little to bridge the growing chasm. As the final episodes rolled out, the contrast between on-air cheer and genuine unease was impossible to ignore. The closing montage promised gratitude and retrospection, with clips celebrating 19 seasons of kindness, and behind-the-scenes bloopers. Still, viewers sensed a hollow echo. Ratings barely budged, and social feeds were flooded with comments like, "Thank you, Ellen." But we're done. On May 26, 2022, after 339 episodes, the curtain fell. No grand finale, no farewell tour, just a quiet acknowledgement that time and scandal had caught up with even the mightiest brand. Ellen logged off her final broadcast with a hug, a forced smile, and an awkward wave. The after-party footage on EllenTube lingered online for a few weeks before being pulled. The Empire of Kindness was officially disbanded, but the story didn't end in Burbank. In 2024, Ellen resurfaced with a Netflix special titled For Your Approval. She cracked jokes about her own downfall, referencing being kicked out of show business for being mean. There was self-deprecating humor and hints at life beyond the glare of studio lights. She even teased a move to the Cotswolds, describing her new $20 million estate as serenity for 2 horses and a scandal-scarred soul. Yet critics argued that the special played too loose with facts and softened real victims' voices. The Netflix special earned streams but failed to reignite her appeal. Today, Ellen DeGeneres stands at the crossroads, part comedian, part cautionary tale, her legacy forever shaped by the tension between kindness as a brand and kindness as a practice. In the months that followed Ellen's final bow, the industry landscape transformed in ways few anticipated. The collapse of a brand built on kindness opened the door for creators to redefine what it means to connect in a genuine way. Twitch streamers began hosting office hours, live Q&A sessions where producers and editors joined the broadcast for unscripted banter. Patreon-exclusive channels offered behind-the-scenes tours of home studio setups, complete with candid discussions about sourcing content and managing mental health. Even major networks experimented with transparency, posting cropped versions of daily production meetings on social media, where fans could react in real time and raise concerns directly to showrunners. This sea change in audience expectations underscores a central truth: trust is not granted, it is earned moment by moment, interaction by interaction.